Hello everyone. Well, it's finally here. Video I've been hyping up since about October, so for about 6 months now. Wow. Took a while, but it's here. The video I determine how many Angry Birds universes there are. And believe me, there is a lot more than you think. And I am aware that in the previous video, I suggested that all the FNAF universes are a part of this. I will be completely ignoring those in this video. Just because I'm not entirely sure about that other video, so. Let's just sit back, relax, and listen to the theory, I guess. Well, here we go. So, for starters, we obviously have the Angryverse image here. Right, this is the thing that started it all, started this whole timeline theory thing. And it's also where this theory will begin. Because this already gives us 7 universes. Gives us Space Universe, the Movie Universe, the Summer Madness Universe, Journey, Dream Blast, Classic, and Super Angry Birds, which does have an asterisk next to it. You'll see why soon. Later in the video. Now, they're not included in this image, but, and it is possible they're just behind red, looking at it, but there are 2 more universes we can easily include here. First of which being Angry Birds Epic. Pretty obvious, considering there's 5 eggs, and the birds in this Birds and Pigs in this universe aren't the exact same characters we know in the Classic and Toons universe. Well, Toons is part of the Classic, but you know what I mean. Plus, there's some other evidence that suggests it can't fit into our timeline. For example, it can't be at the beginning because it shows the Birds and Pigs becoming friends by the end. And it also can't be at the end of our timeline either because, in that case, where's the rest of the flock? Doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's honestly a very strange game altogether, but all of it is just evidence for it being its own separate universe. Then there's the Minecraft Angry Birds DLC. Not only are the characters and events in this not lining up very well with the movie universe, but Rovio themselves essentially did confirm this is its own separate universe, so, you know. But with that being said, now that we've easily discerned those two as its own separate universe, now we have to look at each and every game to determine if it's canon or not, and also which universe it belongs to. Don't worry, this isn't going to take forever like my previous video. But here's all the games I believe are not canon. Most of which are not canon simply because they were soft launches that ultimately never got a full release. Though it is possible that some of these will get released later, like Bad Piggies 2. But for now, it's not canon. And Blast isn't canon just because, let's be honest, no one wants it to be canon. I don't even think Rovio knows it exists anymore. Watch, now that I've made this, all kinds of Blast promotional material and updates are going to come out. Anyway, with that being said, here are the games that I believe take place in the movie universe. Yeah, the movie timeline is a bit more complex than just movie 1 and movie 2, and the upcoming movie 3 probably. So, I might make a theory one day about the Angry Birds movie timeline, just because it's the second most complex timeline, obviously right under Classic. That just leaves us with 2 games that have interesting canonicity. Those games being Angry Birds Fight and Angry Birds Rio. Yes, these 2 are the most confusing Angry Birds games to me. But I found where they fit into their own time. Let's start with Fight. Since this video is something else. Now, fight is interesting because it could easily take place in the classic universe, due to the world being separated into a bunch of various different little islands, which lines up with the lore established in the Melody comic. So, pretty simple evidence there, but the gameplay is a bit off. Because you see, it has us fighting other birds. Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, that being said, however, I do have a small theory that the actual gameplay of Angry Birds isn't canon. But that still doesn't change the fact that how weird this game is, when you really think about it. So, because of the hat system and weapons and armor, and also because the gameplay involves fighting across different islands, I thought it was just some weird sequel to Angry Birds Epic and moved on from there. It mirrors the gameplay of Angry Birds Epic. We fight across Big Island, we fight across a bunch of other islands. Makes sense. But then I thought about Angry Birds Epic, and I realized something. Take a look at the map of Angry Birds Epic, specifically the order in which we fight across it. Does it seem familiar at all? Because if you study Angry Birds lore like I do, you'll notice that it should be very familiar. We start here, in the Cobalt Plateau, and on the southern beach, move on to the Cobalt Plateau, where we meet the birds, meet some of the birds for the first time, and we fight the pigs for the first time. This is Angry Birds Reloaded. See where I'm going with this? Then after that, we fight through a bunch of water and meet the rest of the flock, which obviously represents Angry Birds Pop, and you'll see. But the finale for this section is on Desert Island, which represents Angry Birds Go, as that too has a finale in the desert. Then we move on to the Slingshot Woods. This is the Slingshot games. And Angry Birds Classic and stuff. Because not only at that point are the birds back on dry land on Piggy Island, but, Slingshot Woods, Slingshot Games. The Star Reef up here is where we go next, which represents Angry Birds Space. Not only because of the stars and space and stuff, but also just because of how alien that area feels to the rest of the world. Then we fight across the bamboo forest and the Clown Mountains and Pig City. This is Angry Birds 2, because we fight through various areas from there in that game. And finally, the finale on top of the Hog Mountain. This is obviously Angry Birds Transformers, as the birds and pigs team up to fight a common enemy threatening to destroy the world. That's right, Angry Birds Epic is an allegory for the timeline I've been proposing for the past year now at this point. Many people have likened Angry Birds Epic to a fairy tale or an ancient legend. While those theories may be true, it's a lot more than that. It's a story that the Angry Birds are telling to the hatchlings, the very story of their lives, and everything up to that point. And by the way, yes, I am suggesting that those three are what's inside the eggs. I believe at some point in Angry Birds Friends, the eggs do hatch, and then after that the birds and pigs just fight just because it's just the thing they do at that point. And it's after they hatch that Red and the other birds all tell the hatchlings about the story of Angry Birds Epic. So, with all that being said, how does Angry Birds Fight fit into all this? Well, think about it. After the events of Angry Birds Pop, after the birds drive the pigs off Golden Island, trying to capture them, King Pig teams up with Dr. Pig, who I believe would later become Professor Pig, small theory of mine, and creates a bunch of monster pigs to try and find and get the birds, and also their eggs, obviously. However, the birds find out about this and build a boat and sail to Piggy Island, where they defeat Dr. Pig and the monsters once and for all. That's right. I believe Angry Birds Fight takes place after Angry Birds Pop. That's what the water section in Angry Birds Epic is. Makes sense, I think. Also, there's the octopus pig from the Piglantis loading screen. He's a very strange character. He only appears here and then just kind of never again. If Angry Birds fight takes place sometime before this, though, we can explain it as a monster pig that the Angry Birds just never defeated. It's a good theory, I think. Next up is Angry Birds Rio, but I'll save that for later because I have a really good theory on that. But next up, we're going to talk about the TV shows. This image right here, if you like, you can pause it just to see. I believe is just sorting them all into each of their own separate universes. News Classic, So's Classic, Rita's Classic, which people have theorized to be in the afterlife. Blues, Makerspace, and Piggy Tale, Season 3 and 4 of the movie, and Dream Blast, and Bubble Trouble is obviously Dream Blast. But there is one show that clearly stands out from the crowd. That being Angry Birds on the Run, where the Angry Birds, through unclear means, somehow break out of Angry Birds 2 and enter the real world. This show, plus the existence of this thing, suggests to me that our universe is its own universe within the Angry Birds multiverse. Confused? Yeah, this theory is a little confusing, but hey, that's the fun of making theories. They confuse people sometimes. Anyway, next up, we move on to the comics. This is the juicy part of the theory. Because I believe that Angry Birds comic and Super Angry Birds are in the same universe. How do I know this? Oh, simple. Santa's Little Helper. And, finally, Angry Birds Rio. That's right, I think these all take place in the same universe. In Santa's Little Helper, the birds, albeit accidentally, launch themselves over to New York City. At least, I think it's New York. And in Angry Birds Rio, the birds are kidnapped and taken to, well, I don't know, Rio, I guess. But those are two real-world locations in Angry Birds. I think that implies that those all take place within the same universe. A different world, where the Angry Birds world and our world are essentially the same, with both Angry Birds in them. This, of course, implies, but what about Super Angry Birds? How does that fit in? Well, we all know this image, I'm pretty sure. You've been looking around Angry Birds on the internet, chances are you've seen this at some point, where it's the Super Angry Birds, but as the Angry Birds space fog, complete with Iceberg. I think you can see where this is going now. After being taken all across the world in the Angry Birds comics, the Angry Birds kind of want to explore past Piggy Island. Thankfully, Iceberg shows up and evolves them into the Super Angry Birds, as well as the pigs. Where they eventually moved to New York, rename it to New York, and that's where the Super Angry Birds comics take place at that point. Meaning our timeline looks a little something like this. I believe Angry Birds Rio made the birds want to explore out after they make friends with people on the outside. It's possible. But we're not done with our theory just yet. No. We still have the World of Angry Birds official guide to talk about, as it suggests that some episodes are actually their own universe that the Angry Birds travel to. Those universes being Birthday Party, Go and Get Lucky, Winter Wonderham, and the Eggsteroid. Little question there. It also suggests, as we all know, that Haunted Hollow is its own universe, which connects to Trick or Treat, and I made an entire theory about this back in October, which is where I first mentioned this theory, so yeah, this theory has been in works for a long time now. So. Also, we have the Halloween dimension. So, that being said, how many Angry Birds universes are there? 15. There's the Classic Universe, the Space Universe, Dream Blast, Journey, Epic, Minecraft, Movie, Summer Madness, Comics, Horror Universe, Birthday Party, Go and Get Lucky, Winter Wonderham, Trick or Treat, / the Halloween Universe, and the Extoroids. So glad to finally share this information with all of you, because this was quite the journey. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!